Okay, let's get it going. Hello, I have my first guest. He's gonna be my co-host. Hi guys! Welcome to Anatural Talk podcast where we're gonna be talking everything beauty related, business related, me related. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I have been wanting to make this podcast for so long. And some people may be wondering, what is this about? What is this about? Really, truly? Are you just getting on here to talk shit? Yeah, partly, but also, let me start off here. So this podcast isn't just gonna be about beauty related stuff. I'm also gonna bring on guests from the small business community here in Sonoma County. If you guys are from here, you guys know we're super strong on supporting small businesses. This is why I love being here. And I've met a lot of cool people. I will say I am a social butterfly. I am a little social butterfly. I do like to go to social events, mixers. I've met a lot of people. They've inspired me in ways they don't even know. So I can't even imagine what they can do for the audience that's going to be listening to this. If it's someone that's curious of starting their own business and they're like, what do I even do? I know I don't want to go to college. I know I don't want to take this other path. What can I do with what I know? Or what can I get good at and make that a business? So yeah, I'm going to bring on a lot of my small business friends and some, not even small business, like corporations, well known, like they be out here. So yeah, I think it's just gonna be so fun when I have someone else here and we're just going back and forth, feeling, you guys can feel the vibe through the camera. I personally love podcasts like that where they're interactive, but also they have their episodes kind of like this one where you just get to know the person you're going to be listening to. So that's basically what this episode's about, but I just want to give a broad advisory that it's not just about beauty. So if you're a guy or you're not into beauty, but you just still want the entrepreneur mindset, I think that's more so what this podcast is about, is how to feed into your entrepreneur calling. That's what this podcast is about, because I want to tell you guys how I went through my call. I picked up that phone and I was like, I'm gonna be my own boss. That's just all that had to happen. So enough of the intro, little yapaholic mixtape. Let's get into how I started my business, what led me there, what made me become a natural brow TM, and why I've made the decisions I have, which is also why I wanted to do this podcast, because I know years down the road, months down the road, whatever, I'm going to reflect and be like, why did I make the decisions I did? And I'll have this video to look back on. So this is more so to clock myself too. Let's run it back. My name is Anai. My name is Anai. I'm 23 years old. I started my business when I was 18 years old. And I have no college education. I dropped out of college, fucking hated school, high school, everything. I just wasn't there to sit textbook and lectures and that kind of vibe. Props 100% to anyone that does that. Love that for you. Love that your brain works that way, but mine doesn't. So I said no. So yeah, that's my background. I started my business when I was 18 years old. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I just knew I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. I just ended up working 24 hours a day instead, 7 freaking days a week. But I didn't know that going into it. I just saw, I just saw myself not going to school and all that. Well, I can't not make money, so I have to find a way, right? Let's see, where should we start? How did this start? Why would you listen to me? Why would you listen to me telling you like, oh, this is how I start my business, do it my way? You don't have to. I'm just sharing my story, how I came to be, and honestly, this shit has worked out for me. I knew I would, but like, it's also surprising when you come to the point where, you know, you kind of did everything you wanted to do and you're like, wow, I kind of did that. Period. And I don't say that in a way to boast. I feel like that can get misinterpreted really easily through social media when I like, you know, I'm like, oh, I did this, did that, got this storefront, got a house, you know, did all the things, you know. Some people could be like, oh, this bitch is bragging. This bitch is talking about I'm not doing enough. I never said that. But you can think that. If that's your fuel to fuel you to do something different, then yeah, be that. Say that as you will. Say that as you will. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Anyways, let's just take it down 2 notches, because I'm like up here right now. I had a workout drink, so it's still kind of kicking through my veins, so I feel like I'm giving an inspirational speech when that's not really what I'm trying. Anyways, how did I start my business at 18 years old with no college education, and just vibes? How did that come to be, Miss Girl? Let me tell you how. So basically, how old was I? In 2019, I graduated high school. I was always one of those kids that was enrolled in pre-college programs, very, very set on going to 4-year college, doing all my PSATs, SATs, you know, prepping for everything in life. Thinking I was doing what my parents wanted me to do. I am a first-generation Latina from immigrant parents, and they came here to give me a better life. So I was like, damn, I gotta clock the fuck in. I gotta get them straight A's, I gotta get into college, and I have to get a degree because that's what we're told to do, right? Wrong. So, another side thing, my parents are pretty young, so they were very understanding to the ways of the world changing nowadays, and they're like, okay, like, yes, we'd like you to go to college, but we understand it's not the only way you can make money, so we're open to hearing what your ideas are. So that's one topic that I want to get back to also, is the support of your family, because that actually plays a big role in, you know, what you do after college, what your influences are. So we'll touch base on that later. But basically, my parents were supportive. And my mom's a cosmetologist, as in the one that does hair, skin, nails, makeup, you know, all the stuff. I am an esthetician. I only focus on skin, as in facials, waxing, makeup. Just those 3. I don't touch hair or anything like that. And I think it's important that people know the difference, because sometimes people, when they get the idea to do beauty, they're like, oh, I have to do hair, I have to go to school. It's a 1.5 years, I think, for cosmetologists. For estheticians, it's only 5 months. 5 months of your life. And it's like paying 1 semester of college at most places. So take that as you will. It's really not expensive. And for me, since I live in Sonoma County, we're kind of like in the closer to the Bay Area. There's schools that are more closer to the city, which we can talk about later too. But point is, there's resources. There's ways. El que quiere, quiere. El que quiere, lo hace. They find their ways. So, anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so, okay, so I went to beauty school. Okay, oh yeah, backtrack. So yeah, I was always on the plan to go to 4-year, right? I had gotten accepted into my dream school. I was gonna go into school for freaking criminology and law. I was gonna be out here, FBI type shit. Like, that was always my goal. And deep down, I was like, I'm only doing that because I like it right now. I was really interested in true crime and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, well, also not recognizing who I was as a person. I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a very empathetic person. And that kind of work would not sit well with me. So once that realization came, I was like, well, what do I want to do in college then if it's not that? And I was like, I really don't want to. So I was already enrolled. I had my classes lined up. My parents were like, okay, she's going to college. Thankfully, my parents had already been saving up for me to go to college too. So we weren't going to get any financial help from me going to college. And at the end, I was like, nope. No, you know what? I just want to do beauty. Like, I want to go to beauty school. College is always going to be there. And I kept that mentality even when I was inside of beauty school. I was like, I'm not even going to do this full time, guys. I'm only doing this to cross it off my bucket list, and then I'm going to go back to college and maybe I'll get into business or something like that, you know? That was my idea then. And then once I was actually in beauty school, I was like, I remember specifically this one lesson that the owner of the school gave us, which was him talking about how you don't have to be just a booth renter. But booth renter means you just rent the chair. You don't like own the salon or anything. You just pay by week or by month, whatever it is, right? And everything's like provided for you. So that felt like too easy in a sense. And at the same time, I was like, wait, then the salon would still be telling me what to do. They'd be giving me the clients. I wouldn't have that flexibility. So I was like, I don't know. I thought that was the only option. And then he told us, no, you can also own a salon and then sublease to other people. You can also teach. You can also create your own brand because you have the knowledge. You can also open up your own school. Like, he started, giving us so many ideas that I was like, I kind of want to do everything. Like, I kind of see myself starting my own business. Like, I could do it. 18-year-old me. And no one that I was around was doing that kind of thing. Absolutely no one. If they weren't in college, they were outside. If they weren't doing that, they were working or they were starting a family. Like, no one around me was starting a business. And this was, keep in mind, 2019. So before COVID, everyone's like, has their set plan, right? So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. If I'm gonna be different, I'm gonna be different. Like, at that point, I was like, I already don't have friends. Like, it's fine. I'll find people that will support me, strangers that will support me. And that's a very, very big thing I talk about, at least on my Instagram. It's like, your friends should be your supporters. 9 times out of 10, it is strangers that come and become your friends by being clients and supporting your business. It's way more easier for a stranger to trust you than your friend. I could say the same about family, but in my case, my family was my biggest supporter, so maybe that's different for everyone, but for me, my family was very supportive, so that's besides the point. So anyways, I finished beauty school in like 5 months and a half. It was super quick. I probably could have been done sooner towards the end, but I was working at the same time because I needed funds for when I did want to open my business. Where was that money going to come from? So I was working as a waitress. I would go to school during the day in Marin, which is by the bay, kind of like 40 minutes from here. I drive out there every day, drive back here because I had a waitressing job at a restaurant, and that restaurant would be popping. It'd be popping off, especially on weekends and Fridays. So I was there working at the restaurant, kid you not, till midnight sometimes. Late nights, because they would have bandas, they would have DJs, they would have all this party stuff happening there, which made it really fun. Very, very good tips. But I had to get up the next morning and I'm like, all right, let's go to school. And I was 18. What else was I gonna do? So yeah, that's kind of how I made it through. Very quick. A lot of schools also offer FAFSA now, so that's pretty cool. And or grants, scholarships. There's so many ways around it. Thankfully, I just had the support of my parents financially in that aspect. So all that happened, right? I went to school. COVID happened. My school completely closed down, and I got out right on time. And then I had to wait to get my license because, everything closed down. But in the meantime, I was like, working from home, only with clients that I was very comfortable with, or family, not just strangers, because I was like, this is my home, and also COVID was at its peak, and I was like, I don't want to get sick and bring that into my home. So it was very, very hush-hush. And then I'm also like a very rule follower type person because I have anxiety and I don't want to get caught up in everything. So I was like, I don't want to basically exploit that I'm working from home during a shutdown. So I'm just gonna wait to announce that I'm gonna get my own spot. And then 2021 came, I got my first studio by myself in Petaluma, a little like attic type place up these steep ass stairs in like a dark room with no natural lighting. It was just what it was worth for its price. And it was a great beginner spot, not gonna lie, but I felt so suffocated there because literally no natural air or light was hitting me. When I first started, I was fully booked for 3 months in advance. Kid you not, I was working Monday to Sunday. There was not a spot that wasn't filled. I didn't even have time to eat lunch type full. And that clientele came from building up the hype from my original clientele because I nurtured them, I connected with them, we made friendships with those original clienteles that I started with at my house, that by the time I was able to accept clients, they were like, oh my gosh, I have like a roster of people waiting for you to open, like, let me send them over to you. So I wasn't so much trying to reach external clients, I was just nurturing what I already had. And keep that point in mind because it does come back later in this story. So yeah. So when I opened my studio, I already was fully booked. I was working Monday to Sunday. That shit was insane. I literally was unhinged. I wasn't seeing my family. I couldn't keep up my friendships. I was coming out of a breakup that was horrible at the time. And all that, but I had a business, so I was like, okay, I can do it, yay, hey, how are you? I'm okay, you know, so, that's so funny to remember now. Anyways, I literally worked so much, that my hands, both of them, literally developed carpal tunnel within those 3 months that I was doing that to my body. I wasn't giving myself the proper nutrition. I wasn't eating. I wasn't even drinking water at that point. And my body hurt so much, I kid you not, that when I tried to do this, which is closing my hand, that would hurt and send spasms throughout my whole forearm. So the pain was going from my center here all the way to my forearm because of how much little tweezing movements, the same repetitive movement for more than 8 hours for every day for 3 months. Who told me to do that? Literally no one. I actually had someone tell me, don't burn yourself out. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm gonna keep going. I didn't even know what burnout was, bro. Like, that's how bad it was. And then once that happened, like to the point where I couldn't, like, you know, do that, I remember I was at home with my parents and I was just crying to them, telling them how much my body hurt, how my mental health was so unwell, and they were just massaging my arm and they were like seeing me in pain. They were like, all right, you need to tone it down a little bit. And I was like, but I can't. I have all these people depending on me. Bitch, it's just eyebrows. It's just eyebrows. Calm the fuck down. Oh my God. But it was so for real at that time for me that I was like, oh my gosh, like, if I don't come into this Sunday morning appointment at 7 a.m., this girl isn't going to get her brows done for the wedding or something. Like, I don't know. I was just making it bigger than it was. Anyways, that was the first few months of me opening a business. So thankfully for me, the clientele had already been rolling in, but I just didn't take care of myself or prioritize myself or know how to say no. Therefore, that led to very severe burnout. Also, my content was doing very well before I started working in my own space. And then once I did start taking that many clients, I stopped posting. My content just wasn't what it was before. Before it was fun and I was just so happy to be in front of the camera. It was a whole different, you could feel the vibe change, right? So fast forward, I leave that Petaluma spot. I'm like, okay, I built my reputation or whatever. I think I'm ready to move to another city. Biggest mistake I fucking did. Big mistake. I should have just stayed in Petaluma. I should have just taken my time to slow down and figure out other resources. But I'm 19 at this point. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Oh no, wait. How old am I now? At this point, I think I'm 20. And I don't know, I'm gonna be 21? Something like that. I'm moving to 2 cities away from where I started. I lost a lot of clients because they're like, girl, that's far. And the city I was moving to was like a big city, and it's known to be kind of ghetto-ness. So people are like, I don't really go over there to begin with, and I don't really want to keep going. Like I live, in Petaluma or something. And so I did lose a lot of clients. Thankfully, a lot of them did follow me. I moved into those solo salons, which is another conversation I want to have on another podcast episode, because I didn't have the best experience there. And also I moved in with somebody, and that also wasn't a good experience. Another episode for itself on why, for me, it didn't work sharing a space, which is so ironic, because we're gonna get to the point in the story where I am currently, and then you're gonna be like, "What? I thought you would never do that." It's just some people. Some people, bro. Some people. Anyways, so yeah, I moved. That didn't go well because I ended up paying so much money. So much fucking money for a space to rent. It was insane. Literally wanted to kill myself. And I just thugged it out. I was like, all right, well, I gotta make ends meet. I downsized to a smaller unit there, and it was like literally the size of a freaking cubicle. I could barely have people just walk in and sit. And that was 4 white walls, no windows, and that was it. That was all I had. So yeah, it wasn't the comfiest, but I was like, I signed a lease, I have to stay here, let me finish it. Finished that up, and then I moved over to the storefront. I got a storefront because that was always a dream of mine. I was like, I want to have my name on a window. I want to have people be able to drive by and be like, oh, that's where it is. That's Anatural, bro, right there. That's that bitch that be getting me right. I wanted people to say that and see that with my name. And I was so focused on it that I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I moved out of that last spot, got this storefront. I loved being at the storefront for a really, really long time. That was probably the longest place I was at. Up until last month, I moved again. But now I'm sharing a space with my dear friends and colleagues at Alexandria Lash Studio back in Petaluma, because I actually really like Petaluma. I'm telling you, I don't know why I moved to Santa Rosa, but I did. And I feel so much more at ease. I have time to do things like this now. Rent isn't really an issue for me anymore. As you guys may know, having a storefront is expensive. That wasn't the issue. It was more so the feeling of loneliness being at the storefront so much. And as you guys can tell, I have been working by myself for a really long time. So I was like, okay, I'm used to it. And then I moved out and I was living by myself, working by myself, running errands by myself, doing everything by myself, that I got really lonely and depressed, not gonna lie, NGL. But I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't keep complaining about being depressed and being sad and being lonely when I have a great business on the outside, So something happened at my studio. Something happened at my studio, you guys probably saw. The storefront got vandalized and the windows got broken. Insert picture. The windows got shattered Thankfully, it had 2 double paned windows, so they didn't get into the studio, but they just caused a ruckus. And my cameras were blacked out, so I didn't even get to see who it was. And that was probably the creepiest part to me, was my cameras were working every other day. When I go on my little app, I can see what was happening. That night, they just stopped working. And then when I went back on my app and I tried to find the timestamps and everything, they just stopped. So, yeah, that was weird. That was really weird. And another thing too, that space, as much as I loved the concept of it, you know, the literal space of it, I loved that. It wasn't located in the safest area, and my neighbors were literally sex workers. So yeah, I didn't really want to say that out loud when people were still coming to me, but my neighbors were sex workers at a massage place, and my window basically faced their parking lot, so I would see the men that would come in, and I knew some of them, and it made me so uncomfortable. I was like, ew, what are you doing? And before, people are like, how do you know? Bitch, I know what they were doing there. It's obvious. So even clients of mine would ask me, and some of them I'd be like, girl, I'd be so for real with you. Yes, that is true. So yeah, I have my crazy stories about that too. I'll probably do a part 2 on that, but fuck, that was so weird. And like, I would have weird men come up to my door and like just walk into my space if I forgot to ever lock the door. And it was like always a safety concern. I was like, as soon as my client came in, lock the door. Came out, lock the door. Like, it was instinct at that point, and it was kind of like an anxiety I didn't know I had lingering in the back of my head, that I was like, oh my god, did I lock the door? Did I lock the door? I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, I heard a noise. And like, it was bad. And then when the window thing happened, I was like, okay, weird. I'm gonna kill myself. Like, no, it was weird. So I was like, this no longer feels welcoming. I love the space because, you know, aesthetically it worked for me. But I was thinking back, like, Anna, what are you doing this for? Like, are you doing this again to like show off that you have a storefront? Are you doing this because you need more space? Or are you doing this because it's all you have right now, but you're still yearning for that community feeling, that working with others? And yeah, that actually overtook my thoughts. I was like, no, I want to work with others because eventually I want to have my own salon. I want to run my own place, but I've never worked with other people, or I've never seen that dynamic fully develop in front of me. So how should I jump into working with others, buying a building, hiring people, doing all that, if I haven't experienced it firsthand and at a lower cost and risk? So my friend Jenna, the owner of Alexandria Lash Studio, she knew what was happening with the window. She knew the weird vibes that were happening, and she literally offered me to go work there and rent a room. And I was like, that was never an idea of mine. I had never like really conceptualized, I guess, downscaling, you know, because I started off fucking fully running at 10 million miles speed. And I was like, you know what? After my bad experience with working with others, I'm not going to let that deteriorate me from continuing to explore that option, because I think that would just devalue it completely and just leave me in a rut. So I'm going to be open to it, because I am now in a place where I can set boundaries differently. I can prioritize my feelings differently. I'm not that 19, 20-year-old that got mixed up in that other stuff when I had someone else with me and I didn't know how to communicate things. I'm not her. I'm different. I'm grown. I am continuing to grow. And I'm open to this challenge of being around other people, because I really was noticing, I was like, damn, bro, I'm kind of weird. I'm kind of like awkward. I'm kind of a weirdo. Like, I kind of don't get the social cues sometimes, because I was so used to just having my same regular clients. We know each other. We know what we're going to talk about. Everything's kind of like low-key scripted. Like, we know what's going to happen. I'm anticipating it. In the real world, I hadn't talked to anyone. Dude, it had been years since I had been in a social setting. Except those mixers I was telling you guys about. It had been a long time since I had been in that kind of environment. So I was like, damn, bitch, you really is isolated as fuck. Like, a lot. So I was like, no, let me do this as a challenge to myself and work on whatever I have to work. Like, it will be shown to me, basically. And it became more of, yeah, like a self-challenge. And honestly, it's only been a couple weeks that I've been there, but already I love being around people. I'm like, when did I become so anti? Because I actually genuinely love the feeling of girl group, like feeling the community, and someone's laughing over here, someone's having a different conversation in that room, and then we're over here having our own. It just feels like harmony. It feels nice. And then at the end of the day, we all come back and we're like, so how was your guys' day? What was the tea? What was happening? I just think it's a different type of girlhood I haven't experienced yet until now. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's basically, I ran you guys through like how I got to where I am. And some people were like, well, you know, now that you downsize, are you gonna just stay working for somebody else? Or like, which, to clear it up, I'm not working for anybody. I'm still like an independent contractor. I still run my own books, run my own stuff. Like, I'm not under anybody. So no, I don't think I'd ever work for anybody. I just think I have so much space now to pivot in different ways. And this podcast is one of them. This podcast has been a dream of mine. But again, because I had all those bills to pay for the storefront, for this, for that, all these things I set up for myself, I was like, well, I have to make a minimum of this to cover this. And then I was living by myself, so I was covering my apartment expenses on top of it. And I have a certain lifestyle, girl. I have a certain lifestyle. I take care of myself. So, you know, facials, hair, nails, lashes were getting done. I don't really shop for clothes, but it was more so like investing in myself. My massages, my trips, I wasn't gonna let that go. So it was like, I still gotta work to keep up the lifestyle I built for myself. But yeah, that's kind of like how I got to where I'm at. I'm definitely gonna go more in detail about it, obviously, like later. And I really just want to take this moment right now. Let's just take this moment right now to acknowledge 18-year-old Lana. She's right here. She's right here. I'm talking to her and I'm telling her, girl, you did it. You did that fucking thing. You ate. Never did you doubt yourself, and never should you ever, because you did that. And honestly, now that I'm in this place where I have so many open opportunities, that I'm like, yes, it is overwhelming, because you're like, what can I do next? What am I supposed to do next? There is no clear, roadmap of anything. Now that I'm in this place, I'm like, well, I started a business already. It's pretty successful, honestly. Should I just start another one? Should I just go off and start another one? Because I'm kind of down. Now that I went through all the trials and tribulations, making my company LLC, making it TM trademarked, making this be literally a 6-figure business, how can I now do something else? Maybe beauty related, maybe not. I have so many things that are, and you see, I want to really emphasize this point for you guys. For a long time, I've been doing this since, years, a couple years. So for a long time, I kind of just categorized myself as just a brow artist, just doing what I did, going to do my business and coming home and continuing to do my business at home, but, just focusing on that. And in a sense, it did bring me a lot of fulfillment. It is bringing me a lot of fulfillment still, because now I have more fun doing it. It's not so serious. But I just categorized myself so much that I forgot who I was. That I forgot that I like going out to nature to hike. That I like I used to make paper, guys. I used to make recycled paper. I have one, actually. Let me show you. When I was starting my brow business, it was still COVID. I was still like kind of slow and figuring out, you know, clientele and everything. So I started making recycled paper, literally recycled by hand, and I started selling it. But I sold it as packaging, as tags, like price tags, as gift card holders, as bags. Well, my target audience for the products was other small businesses, because I would see that they used a lot of tags for their clothes or to write anything. And I was like, damn, they probably have to buy that all the time, or like, you know, it's probably not good for the environment for them to keep buying those plastic stuff. Like, why don't they just replace it with recycled paper? So I started catering to them, and it was actually doing really well. And I was having fun doing it. And then my business picked back up, and I ditched that, and I went on. I literally liked it so much that I had it branded. My paper brand is Regrow Green. I had a little stamp on it and everything to make it official. The ink was even biodegradable. Like, everything I was doing was because I genuinely liked it. I started my channel making the paper, and I started teaching people how to compost, how to make their own soil from their compost, how to use eggshells as fertilizers. Like, I really got into that because it was genuinely something I liked, and I need to tap back into her because she was doing it for fun. She was not doing it for the views. She was not doing it for the trends, which is what I started doing with brows, and that's when it didn't become fun anymore. I was doing it because I genuinely thought it was fun. And so, yeah, I want to do things like that. I love working out. In the way that I do now is I like to go to cycling, I do yoga, I do Pilates, I love dancing. I used to choreograph dances when I was younger. I haven't done that again. So it's like pottery. I love pottery. I have cooking segments now that I film but I've never posted. With this boy right here, with Mr. Kilo, he has taught me so much about, you know, dog, like their health, the food that they eat, even how I feed him. I learned a lot about myself, how I take care of his coat, how I give him his little bubble baths and everything. So I was like, I have so many things that I want to off branch into, but I didn't give myself the chance because I literally limited myself to just being a brow artist. And I think that was my downfall, because I fell into a huge depression on not knowing who I was anymore. And I was even being like so monotone at work. I was being like hyper professional. I wasn't talking about the things I knew I wanted to talk about, even in my appointments. I just became this version of myself that I thought I had to be, because it's what I saw on social media. And I was like, well, if this person's successful, it's because she's holding herself to this standard of professionalism, and I have to do the same thing. So that was why I kind of felt like I shifted to that. And now that I acknowledge it, like, you know what? Fuck it. If I cuss during an appointment, if I talk about my personal stuff too because they asked, like, that's fine. That's how you build genuine relationships. So, yeah, be who you are. Be who you are, because I wasn't. And now that I am tapping back into her, that's when I'm like my happiest now. And if my clients don't want to stay with me because I'm saying some weird ass shit, they shouldn't be my clients, because I'm not going to change myself for them anymore. So that's that on that. If you made it this far into the podcast, comment a leaf emoji, any leaf emoji. That way I know that you've been listening this whole time. And don't forget to subscribe. This is barely the first episode. I hope you guys got a feel of who I am, how I talk. I promise the audio will be better next time. Yeah, bro, we up from here. We up from here. I'm doing this out of the kindness and loving and excitement of my heart. I genuinely just want to do this because it's something I love. I love podcasts. I love getting knowledge and feeling like a little disconnected from reality by hearing other people talk. And I'm just over TV shows and music sometimes that I just need to hear people yap. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to my first episode. And you can follow me on Instagram if you're not already. My ad is anatural.brow. And you can follow the podcast on Instagram also. It's A Natural Talk Podcast. Bye guys!